Oh, gun shy. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Heidi, are you ready? Good morning,
Yep.
Chief.
Good morning.
You blended right in.
I know.
That was the plan.
He tries to.
Are you good, Heidi?
Yep.
Della?
Yeah.
Lois?
Yep.
Cheryl?
Yep.
All right. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Roll call when ready.
Sonic, here, Goss, here, Pop,
Here.
Bauman.
Here.
Any changes to the agenda? Any conflicts of interest? Any public comment this morning here in the Township Hall? Hearing none, we will move to public comment in Zoom land. Good morning, Mr. Rod. How are you?
Good morning. I just signed in, so are you taking input right now from the community?
We are. This would be first public comment. Yep. Good morning.
Okay, good. Yep. Well, I first of all want to say thank you to everybody who's worked hard to pull this data together. I just went through some of the spreadsheet numbers and I see a massive challenge to the board in terms of trying to prioritize and do complete the projects and the tasks that are critical to the township. Just a few comments. Number one is everything I've learned so far is that your fire department is number one, or our fire department is number one in criticality. That needs to be reviewed. It needs to be decided on what direction to move forward. And it will take a fair amount of attention from the board, and it should also involve active discussion with community members. So to me, that's your number one priority. Number two is the dollars are just not there to support this plan that's been put together over this last month. And I'd really ask that the prioritization and the resourcing be looked at very closely. And you get as close to the actual incoming revenue, your expenses should not exceed that. And that's an obligation that I think the community should hold the board to. So with that said, those would be the two things that I'd suggest right now. And I have more thoughts when you start getting into the actual prioritization. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Okay. That is all the people I see on Zoom, and no one else came into the township hall. So that brings us to our work session. General fund, we've pretty much, we have covered some of it. But really probably where would somebody like to pick up? Any recommendations?
Well, I'd like to revisit the salary wage schedule as far as election wages. We need to address those.
Okay, so do we want to pull up the graded wage scale? Let's see, they're not on that.
No, they're on the salary wage schedule.
They're on the salary wage schedule.
Right. And currently they're at $13.50 for inspectors and 15 for chairs. And most have probably not had time to review it, but yesterday I sent out a document about deputy clerk and inspector, election inspector wage survey information. And I'm seeing a lot of inspector wages who are already over $15 an hour. I would like to move that to 17. And certainly chairs in other townships are getting, in most cases, almost all cases, more money than our $15 we've been paying. It's important to understand that election inspectors get recertified every 2 years. That training is done by the county. And then of course we have our local training here on our equipment that we use in the township. But the county training is every 2 years. That's a general overview of, election procedures and whatnot. And so where I'm going with that is that once an elected inspector has their certification, they can literally work in any township or municipality in Michigan. So we don't want to lose our election inspectors to other townships, other nearby townships. So I would like to go with 17 for the election inspectors and 20 for chairs. East Bay has it says ebook specialist. What they mean by that is the electronic poll book. Everybody, unless they don't want to work on the electronic poll book in the precinct, takes their turn. The election chairpersons have the latitude to rotate people around. What we like is we like to have everybody serve throughout the day in multiple times in each position. They usually do that every hour or two. They switch people around. And so almost everybody works on the e-poll book, and you can see that their e-book specialist is getting $16.50. That probably applies to several of their election inspectors that want to work. We have a couple who are not super computer literate. They're not comfortable on computers and they don't want to use the e-poll book. But that is how we issue ballots in the precinct, and is through the electronic poll book. And so I think the 17 and 20, you can see that some of these people that are low, there's 4 townships that are either going to or may increase what they're paying for their election inspectors, and 2 of them are already higher than we are. So.
Well, I'd just say that I'm not for that. That's a 26% increase. And I get it that, let's see, last time they were raised was 2020. So 2 years ago, 2019, 2020 budget year.
Yeah, 2019.
I think that while I didn't have a lot of time to review the document that you sent out on Sunday, how come that didn't go out in the packet?
I didn't get it done till yesterday.
Okay. So I think that where I'm at with the entire wage salary discussion is somewhere between 7 and 10%.
Yeah, that's minuscule.
So
But you still gotta.
yesterday,
Pay for it.
I went and I saw several, I toured Traverse City. I guess it was on Saturday. There's several people who are hiring at $14 an hour.
Several people, as in who?
You can drive down South Airport and you can see the signs in the windows. And so obviously, we don't know whether or not they're getting any applicants.
Right.
And we don't know that people advertising at $18 to $20 an hour are getting any applicants, because obviously we could all go to work at McDonald's. Matter of fact, I need to be out of here in 20 minutes so I can go pick up my morning shift and make more money than what we currently do.
Well, you don't know if they have benefit packages as well.
And we don't.
That plays into it. Well, but if they do, that's another method of compensation that they have available to
But-
them.
But
That-
these
that
are all
doesn't apply to
part-time
us here.
employees too.
So that's kind of my blanket statement where we're at. And I think if what I understood you sent out on Sunday for our deputies, we're already, if we were looking at a 10% increase, we'd be in the $18 an hour range.
A 10% increase from a $13 an hour starting wage?
Well, you're assuming
That's
that
$14
that's the starting
and 30
wage.
cents. Well, that's what our
Yeah.
current graded wage scale says.
But the people that you got information on were not starting out.
I asked for starting wage info.
Well,
That's what I asked for.
I don't know. So I think we're right where we need to be. And if
Absolutely
somebody
not.
wants to jump ship for $1.50 an hour, see ya.
I'm having a hard time with these increases because these are all part-time employees, mostly. A few of them aren't. And it's a pretty stable, easy job. It's always there.
But it's skilled labor. It's skilled.
I
There's
completely.
No.
Okay.
I understand you understand that. Apparently you don't appreciate it. There's just like
Oh,
in the
no, I
fire
appreciate it.
department.
Okay,
There's a
listen.
lot
Della.
of, I hadn't stopped talking yet.
Okay, well, I wasn't
That's
done
the-
talking, so.
Well, you
whatever.
interrupted.
I did, okay, whatever. Go ahead.
As with the fire department personnel, they go through a lot of hours of training. The
That's right.
election inspectors are in constant training because the laws are always changing. So they're skilled labor. And it's the same thing for deputies. They're skilled labor. They're not anybody that's going to come in and flip a burger or put fries in a box.
I'm
And
not,
those people are getting more than skilled labor here. And keep in mind that you're right, these are part-time, which means that the wages is not, these wages are not being paid out at a full-time rate.
I completely understand.
We
that.
have 4 elections a year. You have to have election inspectors in order to run an election. If you lose your election inspectors, because they can take their training and go to any township.
Del, I
Doesn't have to be the
completely
one they have.
understand all this.
You do, then how come you don't understand why maybe a wage increase is justified? I'm not
Because
saying-
nobody
I'm not
has
saying
told
a
me how we're
30.
gonna pay for it. That's why.
I'm not saying a 30% increase, but a standard increase every
Okay.
year, just like anybody else is
Right,
getting.
they should have been getting 3% every year. So
Oh,
from
interesting.
what?
Your
What?
comment.
Well, normally government does, but here's the problem. If we didn't give them a raise in 2020, so we're a little behind. So I
For
might go 10.
2021.
I completely understand that, Cheryl, but here's my problem. Nobody has told me how you're paying for this yet. Nobody has even brought that to the table.
It's coming out of the general fund and we are mandated to, you are mandated to fund elections.
I completely understand funding the
Mm,
election,
okay.
Cheryl. We might not be having a couple extra ones if you want to change your mind. If you want to go tit for tat,
Okay,
I can do that.
Well,
I just
let's-
want to know
let's
how we're
focus-
funding it.
let's
That's all. If you're
focus
taking
on-
it out of the general fund, you're not
Mhm.
staying within your budget.
It's coming out of the general fund and the township has not adopted a budget in many years that stays within the new revenue. We have a fund balance, okay? And so what we can do is we can dip into that fund balance. And what everybody needs to understand is it is not a proper function of government to be sitting on a pile of the taxpayers' money, okay? So when we have a large amount of money, we find a way for that to benefit the community. We don't just sit on it like we are in the road replacement fund, out of which fund we have not spent a dime in 4 years, going on 5 years. And so that is not a proper function of government. So what you're seeing on the latest budget document is you're seeing that we have not spent all the money, that we have got a month to go, and we have not spent all the money that was budgeted to be spent. So that leftover money just rolls into the fund balance of whatever
I get that,
fund
Cheryl.
you're talking about. Okay, and so we have no obligation to, in fact, we have a duty to not just be growing the township's piggy bank when it could be in the hands of the taxpayers. It's better off in their bank account than it is in ours. And so while, you know, we might be setting aside some money, as we are with the fire department, for a large purchase coming down the road, we cannot just, well, where was it here? Let me just pull this out real quick and it'll be my last comment on this, but I am not backing down from the fact that we need to raise election inspector wages substantially. Okay, as of December 31st, we had almost $800,000 in the general fund. Okay, so, you know, you can't look at just this budget document here without also looking at what's in the bank account. So we have always, what I'm saying is we've always adopted an operating deficit budget in some funds, and that is to be managing the taxpayers' money in a fiscally responsible way and investing in personnel, investing in equipment, investing in what we need to keep the township moving forward.
One thing that we have not looked at and have talked about for several years as a board, and that is to address what a proper fund balance is in our general fund. And so all of the webinars that I've been attending from Treasury, Michigan State, they're indicating that we should establish that value. And as you brought up, Cheryl, we have $800,000 in there, but that's not a lot of money. You can't even buy a mile of road. You pick on the road repair fund like, it is a stepchild. And with the money that's in there, we can't do any road repair because we don't have a matching contribution. Matter of fact, this board hasn't even determined what percentage, if any, they want to contribute to road repair.
And I'm waiting for someone to bring that to the board as an agenda item. Let's talk about it. What is, and I've mentioned this and I wrote it in the budget, the audit report, that the township has not come up with any type of formula for, we need some type of formula as the county road commission has, maybe not taking into consideration the exact same things, but we need some type of formula for how we're going to, that $416,000 in the road fund as of December 31st, we don't have anything planned for that. And that is, the last time we made an expenditure out of there, we put 89,000 towards one road. And so as I see it, we're going to be only making small contributions to road repairs out of that fund, because you can't take all that money and put it towards any one road repair in the township. There's too many bad roads in this township to do that. And the taxpayers are going to balk at that. And the taxpayers are also paying already $1 million to the county for road. So what are we getting? We're not getting an accounting every year, are we? You're getting it and the board hasn't seen it. I've never seen it, of what we are spent, what the county is spending, that 200 and some $1,000 that we're sending them every year. What is the county spending that money on in the township? And we haven't, let's find a road and let's, it's the road repair replacement fund. That's why it was set up, to be able to throw some money at road repairs / replacement. And in my opinion, that wasn't just your routine maintenance. The road commission handles the routine maintenance, and they're obligated to do that. And this is for things that we cost share. This fund is for things we cost share for bigger projects. So
Well, as
we
was handed out
don't
last-
have any kind of guidelines or criteria or rubric, as has been spoken of recently. We have no guidelines, no criteria, no rubric for how that 400 and some $1,000, soon to be $466,000 in the road repair replacement fund is going to be spent. And absent something like that, we should not be putting the taxpayers' money into that fund and just letting it sit there for years on end.
Well, I got a little bit of a different viewpoint than that, Cheryl. I think you do have to plan, even if you don't have a plan. You do
I'm
have
all
to
for
plan.
planning.
You have to plan financially, even if you don't have a hard, fast, written down plan of what you're going to do. You do need to plan to plan. That
That's
needs to
right.
happen.
Right.
And I think the very first step would be to take that map we've got over there of all our roads and have it marked with the phaser, or get it from the county, of what our current road conditions are. And we take it by priority.
So
And then we plan.
that was provided to you last year, and it was provided to you at the last budget meeting.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Show me. Where is it? I don't see it. Where is it? I
You
said, I
must
want
not
a
have
map
brought it.
that shows our roads, along with the listing that says what the phaser. I don't see it. Do you see it? I don't see it. I see a map that's got our roads.
If you read a packet once in a while, that'd be good.
Oh, Ron, you can stop that right now. That's uncalled for.
I
All my
provided
packets,
it.
you know why.
Extremely unprofessional as well.
I provided
I
it.
mean, if we want to break this meeting down into insults and stuff, we can go there. I
Okay.
don't want to, but I need you to also be on board with that. Cheryl's not attacking you personally. I'm not attacking you personally. Don't attack me.
All you're saying is that I should be providing you a road
No.
plan,
No, I didn't.
and I did.
Ron, then you didn't get what I asked for, or you
Oh, I
didn't
did.
understand what I was looking for.
You must not have understand what I provided.
Well, then it wasn't very clear because I read all my packets.
Well,
Well, I think
Did you
Della
read
is
this?
asking for something new.
did you read the
And-
spreadsheet that was in there?
Sure,
And it provided
Ron?
all of the phaser ratings.
go get it. Go get it. Let's talk about it now then.
I,
Because let me
I
tell you
have it
something.
in the last packet.
Why don't we put it on a map as Della is suggesting for everybody to see? Let's have it right up there. Let's take that map that Chief Flynn created and let's do an overlay on it of what the Pazer ratings are on the roads. Let's get that so that we can talk about that and we have a visual at every meeting. We can talk about that instead of having to go back and dig out a document.
What do you mean go back? Go back to our last budget meeting? I mean.
Well,
provided it in
I
hard
realize
copy.
I realize you provided this that's dated
Yeah.
over a year now,
Yeah,
a year old.
yeah.
Okay, so yes, you've provided that, but what Della is asking for is
And it-
let's put it on a
And it
visual.
breaks
Let's
it
put
down
it on a
very
map.
simply of what we need to be setting aside.
Let's put it on a map.
I want to see the roads and I want to know what the phaser ratings is. And I want to know what the county is saying we should be doing with it.
So. all
That's
the-
what I want.
all
I
the-
want to see,
okay.
that's the kind of planning I would be able to utilize. And I think anybody walking into this township that stood there and looked at a map that size with the document that said, these are the roads, these are the ones we're going to look at fixing because they're the worst in our township.
If there's a plan, why have we not spent anything out of this fund in almost 5 years?
Well, we did. I believe that we
That's-
spent some funds for Skigmog Point Road.
I got the, yeah,
Isn't that
okay,
what
right,
came out of there?
$1,000, yep,
So we
$1,000
have spent some money out of
for an
there,
opinion
right?
of cost that went nowhere.
Well, that's really not our fault. What is our purpose? We never even provided those folks with a commitment of how much money we were going to supply.
And I think that just points out that there needs to be a lot more planning. And it would be nice if we had a map over there of that size on the wall, so you don't have to refer to the fine print on this document right here, this little fine print, every time you want to talk about a road in this township. Let's get something out there. Let's start planning for how we're going to utilize that money to benefit the roads in the township, because right now it's just sitting there. The $1,000 really didn't do anything for the road. All
It
that did
didn't.
was get us an opinion.
Yep.
So that didn't do anything for the road. So it's been since May 31st and August 22nd of 2017 that we've paid out any money that actually went into road repair or replacement.
So we'll make a map, put pretty colors on it. Fine. It's not a problem.
Good. It's not a problem.
Nothing will ever happen without a plan.
I can't justify spending money on Skigmog Point Road when Cook Road is absolutely 3, 4, maybe 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Than Skigmog Point. If we had a plan, we could justify it to the people why we're spending the money, why we're saving the money, but we don't have a plan. Cheryl's right about that.
Well, again, when you take a look at the information you do have, and you realize that road construction in 2021 was at $750,000 a mile.
Mhm.
And if we wanted to take a look at even Cook Road, that is a little over 2 miles long. So that would be about a $1.5 million project, of which we would probably have to come up with 25% of, which,
Us and the taxpayers.
no.
us and the taxpayers. You know as well as I do that we're not going to be doing major road construction in this township without a special assessment district.
Yes.
So that's what you need to be looking at.
Not just them.
We
But
had a
the-
2.5.
Not just you. We all.
We
need
had
to
a
be-
$2.5 million special assessment district project in this township in 2006, a 10-year plan. And those roads were 4 miles of roads were reconstructed at a cost of about $600,000 a square mile. So I get it. The cost has gone up. It's 15, 16 years later, and the cost per mile of road construction has gone up. It's not going to get any cheaper. Because I'll tell you, those people that work on roads, they get big bucks. Want to talk about somebody who gets paid a lot of money an hour, it's those people. So, and that's going up every year, and those are union wages. So they go up automatically. Maybe we need a union to get our wages up where they need to be. But certainly a lot of planning needs to be done.
So coming back to the wages. You've heard my proposal. We've heard your proposal. We're going to have to come up with a compromise.
Well, all I can point to is this month, February 22, inspector wage survey that has chairs. Many of them at 18 and above. To me, we can't do anything less than give election inspectors $16 an hour and the chairs 18, and that's really still not enough, but
And what do they make right now?
So
I can't hear you with paper in
What do
front of
they
your
make
mouth,
right
Heidi,
now?
and neither can the
15?
public.
Yeah,
What do they make right now?
13, 50, and 15.
So one of the budget solutions that seems different than how we're approaching things. And this comes from both MSU as well as Treasury. That when making difficult decisions, you target certain items, certain areas. And so we have become an across the board type thinking board when we're talking about budget items. It seems reasonable to me. But when we talk about potential increases or cuts and how they impact, how across the board decisions could impact your bottom line, maybe it is time we take a look at specific targets. So Cheryl, the election wage inspectors, it's been 2 or 3 years since you've brought forward their increase. So maybe we should take a look at them. And
Well-
18 seems to be a lot of what we've moved to, which may not even be supportable. So maybe your 15 and 17 for election inspectors and chairperson, maybe that's reasonable.
I
And I'm-
said 16 and 18.
And like I said, with Board of Review, those members aren't there to get their $70 per meeting. And I'm really rethinking, last year, we did move them from 50 to 70. And I'm willing to keep it at 70 and 15. Now, it has been 2 years since they got an hourly increase, but again, when looking at the overall scope of things, they're not there for the $15 an hour. They're giving up 30 and 35. So unless we want to match what they're giving up, it doesn't matter. So I would be happy to change that number and go back to 70. I do question.
No, I don't agree with that. Go ahead.
I do question why we, in Board of Review, why we don't have a chairperson there. It's one of the,
You were the chairperson, no?
no, I'm the recording secretary. Yeah, I'm the recording secretary.
Is it required, Ron?
Yeah, yeah. They hold elections. They'll do that at their March 4 organizational meeting. Mhm. So like I say, I'm willing to,
I mean, you're talking peanuts. You know, you're talking peanuts. They have 3 meetings a year that they get paid the meeting per diem. That's their March organizational, their July and their December meetings. Okay, so we're talking about $60 a person times 3 people. That's $180. That doesn't impact the budget enough to even talk about. And the, and then they get, you know, we were going to put them to $16 an hour from the 15. Okay, that really doesn't impact the budget. It's not even worth discussing.
well, it is because they're just as important as any other member
And
of the township. And what it does do is eliminates discrimination between boards. We're really trying to treat everybody the same. And, you know, we looked at $80 and $120. That was kind of a common theme through all of our discussions up to this point. And all I'm saying is that I like getting the boards and commissions up there. And maybe what we could do is take a multi-year approach, thinking that this year's rate of inflation is somewhere between right now about 5 and 7%. I think we'll see an overall at least 10% for the year, but that's a guess, like anything else. So I really think that you know, small increases, make sure they're regular, and that way we don't have this discrepancy.
the current rate of a US inflation is 7.5% right now. It'll be more higher than that before year end.
Did I say something different than that?
Yeah, you said between 5 and 7.
Okay, and did I say it was going to go higher yet?
I'm just adding to the
Just wondering what
conversation.
you heard.
I heard between 5 and 7, and I'm just telling you, it's already at
to 10.
7.5. Well, I know that we have to invest in personnel. That's what any good business does. They invest in personnel. And, you know, if you want to revisit this, you know, really, Ron, you're the one that brings us the budget. You have the statutory duty to bring us the budget. Then you should be bringing these wage corrections every year. Many of these, like I say, 2016, 2017, since the Parks and Rec. My documents show what hasn't been done in several years with these. If we're not gonna, I think we need to go up on this stuff. We definitely need to go up on, and the proof will be in the pudding. When somebody leaves and we have to replace somebody, whether we can, that's the danger that you have. You've got deputy clerk treasurer wages right now starting at $13 an hour. You ain't gonna find anybody for that.
So
You're
then
not gonna
when
find anybody with any office experience, with any accounting experience, with any kind of experience at all for $13 an hour. That's why the starting wage needs to go to $17 an hour so you can attract someone. And then with the yearly 3% automatic increases that we've been giving, so you can retain. That's what it's all about, recruitment and retention, as the fire chief knows better than anybody else.
do we have any openings for deputies at this point?
It doesn't matter if we have any at this point.
I see.
Something could happen to someone any day and we would have to replace someone in that position. I don't want to be in the position of having to advertise a job with a starting wage at $13 an hour in 2022. That's ridiculous.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Maybe we could go on with the rest of the budget and come back to the wage issue, since it seems to be heavily contested.
That's
So-
fine.
So we can get it done.
That's fine.
I'm good with that.
I just kind of feel like we're all
Beating a
over.
dead horse here.
No, we're not all over, but we are far apart.
Well, that's what compromise is supposed to be about.
Yep, I agree. So is there a particular fund you would like to pick up?
Isn't road fund next, or was it ambulance?
I think we did road fund.
We talked about road fund.
We didn't plan.
Well, road fund, Heidi, is a little different than road repair. So road fund handles just our street lights and our brining services.
Not our salt or anything else or plowing, just
No.
brine and lights, right?
Just brine and lights. Yeah. And the note that I have is that we took brine services from 22,000 to 35,000.
Yep, that's what we did. And then I believe we also adjusted the transfers.
Yep.
Out of the general fund. And Ron had a recommendation of 5,000 for the road fund, but that's not going to get it. So we need 18,000 we're going to transfer from the general fund to the road fund. We did road fund.
That still leaves us with a deficit there of about $10,000 in that fund. And we have, according to the last information I have, which is 11/30. So November 30th of 2021. The fund balance for the road fund was about $23,500.
That's what it is as of December 31st as well. Not a lot has been added to that fund. So, well, the only way we get money in that fund is to do a transfer, but there's a little bit of interest, I think, a very small amount of interest on that.
Yeah.
So that's accurate. The transfers we've talked about so far are coming in about $4,800 shy of what Ron was recommending, adding them all up. So anyways, we did road fund.
So I guess, don't we have to revisit the transfers from other funds then?
No, we did that the other day.
Well, we'll review those when we review the whole budget.
So want to go to road repair fund?
Yep.
Okay. I think we also looked at this during our discussion about transfers out. And so I believe we settled on $50,000 transfer out from general fund down
did.
from 100,000.
We did.
And I'm recommending that we do $156,000 worth of general maintenance. And Cheryl, when you indicated that we don't pay for any of our crack sealing or chip sealing, that's not true.
I didn't indicate that. I asked, what's the 200 and some thousand that we've are already sending the road commission every year going for?
So we do have some responsibilities with respect to 5-year crack and 10-year chip sealing. And so according to that document constructed in 2021, not updated for 2022, a couple of reasons for that. The 156,000 should get us to where we need to be with annual maintenance.
Just seems every year the road commission adds more and more stuff that we have to pay for, even though they are getting the state and federal funding and we are not.
That's right.
And we have a meeting tomorrow that I think is just going to be bad news. They've created a new plan. None of the supervisors are aware of it. The road commission is playing very close to the vest on it.
Well, maybe
So-
all the townships need to get together and petition the lawmakers and the governor to take the money away from county road commissions and back to the individual townships.
So we
And then
tried
they will
that.
pay them.
We tried that. And so you get folks like Garfield Township, East Bay Township, who get a lot of road work done, right? And they're not really very supportive of that. So getting consensus on that item is going to be difficult, not impossible.
Well, maybe we'll need to revisit this fund after that meeting.
I'm sure of it. I won't be able to update that document because it takes care of, or it takes into account all of our blacktop roads, their phaser ratings, all of it. So it's some complicated math behind that. I won't be able to get that done in a matter of days. So are we good with road repair?
Are we revisiting the 935?
935. No, it's set at 156 currently.
Last year's figure.
No, Ron's proposing 156 for repairs on Skagmog Point Road.
No,
No,
no, the 156, if you look in the left-hand column there, we've got 5-year crack and 10-year chip sealing. 25% of a 435 road figure would be about 110,000.
Okay, I guess where it's confusing me is that number is just the exact same number you have for the
Last year.
Skagmog Point Road. So I'm seeing that number and I'm seeing this number and I'm thinking,
And you're right, it's in there in case we have a Cook Road, somebody of interest in Cook Road, right? Or somebody else that comes forward and says, hey, we've got a group of people that want to initialize a SAD. We have some money set aside. Not much, 110,000.
Where are you coming up with 110,000?
Again, looking at the far left-hand column under line item 935.
In which document?
The Excel document. Or what's in our packet.
Did you change this from, I'm using did you change other funds that, any numbers and other funds that we
No.
hadn't already gone through?
No.
Okay, good. Then I don't need to use that. I can use my document we were using from 223. So what you're saying, explain that again, what that means, 434, 462, 25%, 110,000, what's that towards?
So as Ardella pointed out, that 425 number was 25% of the Skegumog Point Road project, which we now know is defunct.
425, I don't see 425. I see 434, 462 next to 935 road repair.
Okay, use that number.
That's what you had in the 923 pack of the 223 packet.
Okay, so. these
So,
numbers that
but
you've
just
got
let
in
me
the
finish.
column,
I want to get that question answered. So you've got 434, 462, 25% equals 110K. That's Skegumog Point Road.
Or any road. The number was derived, yes, from Skegumog Point Road. That is the most current estimation of cost for road repairs that this township has. And that was based on their first estimate, not the one that we were protecting all the trees and so on and so forth.
And then you've got $46,000 of general maintenance.
So that would cover 5-year crack sealing and 10-year chip maintenance. And the road commission may alter those numbers a little bit, right?
okay, so you're getting these numbers off in this chart, right?
Yes,
Okay, so, and you're just rounding up.
that's all I'm doing.
So the 46,000 is for the 5-year crack seal through 2025?
So that particular document you're looking at looks at a 3% increase in cost per year, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, we all know that this year, apparently, our cost increases are going to be 7%. I submit that construction season won't adhere to just a 7% increase.
They're saying double digits now.
You know, I really think target markets, and as Cheryl pointed out, road building is a target market. There's going to be huge costs. We may find that it's not even affordable, in which case, good news. We got $400,000 sitting there that we can buy a fire truck with. At least we can buy the back half. You can buy the tires.
So just, I don't mean to be ignorant about
No,
this. I'm just
no,
gonna ask.
there's a
this
lot of
question.
information on that sheet, Ardell.
This started with 2020
Yep.
and we are now planning the 22. So are we 3 years behind?
We have not done any crack sealing and maintenance in the township since, I believe, when did WMDLS end? 2020?
When was the work done?
No, when did WMDLS end?
Well, I think you started billing in the
No,
2015
in
or
December of
16, somewhere in there?
2006. So it's
21.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
16.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15, 16.
Yeah, it was a
Somewhere around
10-year.
That was a 10-year special assessment district.
The agreements not to sell was a 15. Is that what you're thinking?
No, we just recently returned some money to people.
That was a refund.
Yep. And
Like
that's because,
recently, that was like 3 years ago.
Been a while.
It's been
yes,
3, 4
but that's
years
when the
ago.
fund was actually closed down. And the road commission used, I don't know, there was 350 some $1,000 of residual money in there. And they used that to,
For the last bond payment.
no, they used that to tar and chip, crack seal the road.
Well, they did also make the last bond payment.
From the residual?
So now my next question is,
That money could not have been used for anything but, I mean, unless it was done over there, just on those 4 miles of road, because that was special assessment district funds that can only be used on those roads.
so my next question is the 46,000 for the crack seal and chip or whatever it is. They're gonna do it by, the county road commission will pick what roads, according to this, that they're gonna chip seal and fill the cracks. Is that correct?
So the plan as of last year was we get on their agenda, their maintenance agenda. We tell them we've got X number of dollars and this is what we want to use it towards. 5-year, 10-year, they'll make the recommendation for the road using the phaser report from 2019. That's the last information we have on Whitewater roads that I'm aware of. So they will actually make the decision. It is not in our hands.
So are you saying, Ron, I mean, I think the people of this township want to know this. Are you saying that if we as a township don't spend that 46,000, and I'm not saying I'm not for it, that Grand Traverse County Road Commission is not going to do any filling or cracking or sealing on any of our roads?
No,
No, that's not what you're saying, or no, they're not going
they
to.
will not do it because those are considered programs under their cost share program. So we have to pay.
That is a policy that they've recently changed in the last few years, correct?
No, that's the policy.
Because
that-
we've never paid for it before today.
Well, I don't know that we've ever had crack sealing on our roads.
They come through all the time and put that, is that not crack sealing? The tar that goes in, they come out here and they do that all the time.
So not pothole patching.
I'm not talking about that.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying, this has got to be something fairly new for them, because you can look back in the history and Whitewater Township has never paid for those services. That's considered a maintenance on the roads that
And-
they have always done.
and their cost share program has been in existence since before the millage.
But
Well,
the
I-
cost share has always been, we do part of the road, they do part of the road.
Mm-mm.
That's been replacement or new roads. That's never been for maintenance.
No, you're incorrect.
I am not incorrect.
We haven't paid out.
That's
For
what I'm
that.
saying.
We haven't paid for that. So in the entire time I've been here, we have not paid for any of that, but yet it's been done.
Yeah, what road has it been done on?
I don't remember right now what road it was done.
I
on.
would say it was
You
done
seem to
on-
remember it's been done.
I-
Well, it's
so-
been done on Williamsburg Road. I drive on that road.
Okay, Williamsburg Road is different
Why?
because actually part of Williamsburg Road is actually federally funded.
funded. I'm gonna
I think
say,
that'd be interesting on this map that's going to get done. I think we need to also have on there where the sources of revenue are for each road. So if if there are federal funds available for roads, then those roads need to be marked that there's federal funds available for those roads. So we know what really, for instance, we're not responsible for anything on M72, it being a state highway. So I think we need to have the roads marked, color coded, something, so that we know which roads we can effectively put dollars towards that something will happen on.
So the previous bid to the Skegamog Point Road entity came to the board in 2014. There were 4 roads. Broomhead Road, Cook Road, Crisp Road, and Skegamog Point Road. And in those documents from that day, the township was responsible for 75% of the road maintenance.
I don't know why Broomhead Road would be in there because that just got redone.
The Broomhead Road was included there as a gravel road, not the paved section,
Oh,
because we have about 20 miles, just under 20 miles of gravel road in the township that we don't do any graveling on.
no gravel on Broomhead though. Hasn't been any gravel on Broomhead since 2006.
I think that's what I just
Yeah, but you,
indicated.
didn't you
We,
say that was 14? 14.
the last time we asked the county road commission for an actual bid, other than Skegamog Point Road, was in 2014. And we did not like the numbers.
A
as
bid
board.
for what?
Road
gravel or
repair
pave?
work on the following roads.
I thought you were differentiating between gravel and pavement. And I was just pointing out that in 2014, Deal Road was a paved road.
So the roads we sought bids on from the road commission in 2014 was the gravel portion of Broomhead, Cook Road, Crisp Road, which was also gravel, and Skegamog Point Road.
But there was no gravel portion of Broomhead Road in 2014, is my point.
There still is a gravel portion of Broomhead Road.
There is.
There is.
You gotta keep going.
Where?
Gotta keep going.
If you don't know where the
Broomhead
gravel road in
Road.
Broomhead is, I'm
Broomhead
sorry,
starts at,
I got nothing.
There, Cheryl, there is.
Seriously.
There's a lot of dirt road.
that's called Broomhead. Oh, you're going past there. Okay, I'm thinking Deal. Sorry. Yeah, Broomhead. Okay, yep.
Ron,
So anyways, we didn't do anything with that. So that's been what, 8 years ago now. So that's kind of, we didn't go for that. So nothing got done there.
But the point was, Ardella said, we've never paid for it. And my point is that as early as 2014, which is my first recollection of the board going out, trying to, we took office, I think, in late 2012. So for us to get our feet underneath us and get some road repair bids in place, that was 2014. And in 2014, we were on the hook for 75% of the road cost, which, by the way, we're still on the hook for 75% of the road cost until tomorrow at 4 p.m., which we will probably be on the hook for
80.
I was gonna say
is
100.
that being zoomed? You know,
I don't think it is.
You got the invitation too, Cheryl. They wanted this to be supervisors or clerks. That was it.
Supervisors, and the clerk only if the supervisor can't attend.
Right. And so I don't know what makes,
It's not a public meeting. It's not really I don't know. They want to have this cost sharing meeting with the supervisors, so.
well, I don't have a concern about Ron being the only one going to it because I think Ron does a pretty good job about speaking up against something with the road commission if you don't feel it's being fair. And I know that when the voters passed that millage to the road commission, a large majority of them thought it was going to maintain their roads,
Yep.
not new roads on the west side of Traverse City.
Right.
But we're one little township. The bigger townships are all voting for it.
Yeah, this township turned it down in 2013,
And now,
but we're still paying.
and now
And then we
my,
turned it down in 2017. I think it's going back. No, it went back on the ballot, I think, in last fall, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if
Every
they
renew-
do what you think they're going to do, they may have voters saying no.
you know, we've been sold this, I think it was called a mix of fixes was their plan. And I think we were introduced to that plan in 2013. And it sounded right, you know, we make this major repair here, or we target a road that isn't so bad and we make it all good again. And so what they were selling seemed to make some sense. But now that it comes our turn, now that all the major roads are redone and we've helped pay for it, now they're coming out and saying, you know what, we're not going to do that anymore. And to me, it's a slap in the face to us smaller townships.
Well, they're changing the rules in the middle of the stream
Yes,
Mhm.
in the middle of the
of game. Yep.
assessment.
game.
Yes. So, but coming back to our road repair fund. So there's about $110,000 set aside in this 156,000. If a neighborhood comes to us and says, we've got a SAD ready to go, or we're interested in a special assessment district.
And if they don't, and we choose to do these, the chip and seals in the shape or whatever it is, we're gonna do it by priority according to the phaser ratings, correct?
Yeah, I'm not a road engineer, so I'm gonna let them tell us which ones need it.
Right.
Yep.
Remind me and the audience, phaser rating. A 1 is good,
Terrible.
1 is terrible, 7 is good.
Yeah.
Correct.
It goes up to 7, right?
10.
10.
Mhm. So I believe somewhere in that documentation, you'll see that more than 80% of our roads are a 3 or less
I
in the
just read
township.
that.
Don't quote me on that number. It's been a long time since I read that document, but we haven't gotten any better.
No, I don't. If anything, we got worse.
Because we haven't done anything. They've done Elk Lake Road and Williamsburg Road.
Yeah, I don't know how they, oh, okay.
So those two roads fall into a different classification. Those are arterial roads.
Because they're through street, they're byways.
They're
Everybody uses them.
arterial. Yep.
That would be a good thing for the map too, what the road is classified as, arterial, collector, whatever.
So are we good with $156,000 of potential expenses?
I am good with that.
What's the next fund you want to go to?
Take my line.
Well, we've already done fire. Park. Rec. Ambulance.
Just to be clear, I have major misgivings in both park and recreation funds.
I think we've already heard that.
Just making it clear. Don't want any, I didn't know.
As far as ambulance fund, with the $343,060 of proposed property taxes, once again, I just make the statement that once March Board of Review is done, we need to plug in the correct number once we know what the taxable value for the township is for certain.
Makes good sense.
You think it's going up, Ron?
Well, we will have a few ads. And the thing that's hard to figure out or estimate is what recent sales have done For example, there's a house near me that sold in, I'll say November of 21 for $205,000. It was put on the market over the weekend at 385.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
And they'll
you'd
get it.
probably go for 4. And you probably got your,
I
this is not a bill
Assessment
Mhm.
change
assessment
notice.
that came in.
Yeah, you know, my house is like, oh, my house went up, but my egg went down. What the hell?
Yeah, everybody's assessments have gone up. Mine
But
went
not
up
the egg.
significantly,
The assessment went up.
and the tax bill went up too. So everybody's getting that across the board. So I'm thinking there's gonna be an increase.
But
I don't
mind
have,
you,
I don't have no idea about how much.
Headley makes us subtract everything but if inflation
Yeah.
and the ads, right?
Mhm.
And by ads, I specifically mean new construction and anything that uncaps. So those would be the two major adders that, without tracking every sale, it's impossible.
And of course, Headley was passed to protect the taxpayers from having their taxes go up dramatically with just exactly what's happening now, dramatic increases in value. And so that townships, municipalities, whatever, would not realize a windfall in taxes. It's out there for the taxpayer. You know, I'm sure, and mine went up too, but my taxable went up a whole lot less than my value. And it said I was gonna have an approximately $85 difference in my taxes. So,
And of that $85, it's important to know that we collect 47 cents. Or whatever the number is,
57 cents.
57 cents.
Well, you had that number, 0.5754 or something like that.
So it's,
Peanuts again.
It's still gonna go up. I'm just saying, we just need to put the correct number in here. So
any other interest earned? Any issue with that?
No,
Facility rent, why was there only 4,200 last year, Cheryl?
it was 5,400 as of 12/31. Well, we're not done with the year yet.
Okay. So that's just amortized out by the.
Well, it's $600 a month. And I did print that one out, I think. So I printed that one out, and of course, the first rent that we have is May. We've got May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January that was posted because they pay before the rent's due. So they pay in the prior month. So so we didn't miss any rent.
Okay.
We're not gonna miss any rent. They're very good about paying.
So 7,200 is still the number according to the new agreement.
Yep.
Contractual services will still be 295, is that right?
I think that's the contract we signed.
Lawn maintenance is still good.
Yeah, and I see we didn't split that bill, so I'll be moving $220 to this line item because that bill was not split. Might have been a couple bills between 206 and 210 funds.
that's
So
why
I'll be
it's sitting
moving
at
it.
0.
That's why it said 0.
And janitorial services, even though chief does it. Is that why we don't have any number in there?
because they did not want to have Jenny Clean do it anymore. And Chief took on the job.
Still want to do that, chief?
We put some in there in the fire fund to do the floors.
Right. that's
That
what
should
you
be
said.
split between fire and ambulance, though. Did we put some in there for that?
So
Yeah,
we
that's
want,
split
Last
that.
year and it didn't get done.
want to leave 600 in there for janitorial services?
What's the cost to do the floors? $300,
How much?
300 to $600.
Oh, no, it's more than that. They strip them and wax them. That's routine
600 is not
maintenance
gonna
on
be
the
enough,
VCT
then.
tile.
Oh, you're doing 2 funds, okay.
Janitorial, we put 600 in janitorial in the fire fund. I don't remember if that's enough to do the floors, do you?
Yeah, I'm not sure, actually.
Do we want to, yeah, let's just keep the 600 in here because I think 1,200 is enough.
And do we like 125 still for waste, or we now kind of know that's gone up a little bit?
That needs to be 240,
240?
20 bucks a month. Well, no, 240, but that's split between the two funds. Okay,
So 125 is good.
yeah. We put 200 in the fire fund.
Well, then let's put 200 in this one. How's that sound?
Septic, I think you're not doing that this year, right? That was just done,
Yeah, we zeroed that out.
right? What year was that done? Do you remember? 2020 or 2021?
So we'll leave that at 0. Or move it to 0, should say.
Zero.
Yeah. What's a current total on snow plowing, Cheryl?
Snow plowing, I have that it was 548 as of 2/22, but it was 350, and this is another one that we didn't split the bill, so I'll be moving half of whatever the fire fund has paid over here.
And that's why your fund looked a little odd to us, I think, because it never got split.
Yeah, we've
Mhm.
only had 2 snow plowing bills so far.
But that's multiple plows.
Oh, right, yeah, they plow, they bill by the month.
So do we want to leave that at 1,500? Do we want to take a break and see if we need to help somebody?
Sir, can we help you?
Yeah, I didn't know you were having a meeting. I just want to drop an application for land use off.
Do you want to just go in the last door on the left and put it on that table in there?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to bother you.
Oh, no problem.
Probably should just had them leave it on the table.
Is
huh?
it, is that door open?
This one's locked.
It's
Oh,
locked,
is it?
Cheryl.
Okay, just leave it out here on this table then. We'll take care of it. Thank you. I thought your office was open. I didn't know that.
All right. Any other changes to the following line items that have been 0? Next one is natural gas, then that has any value to it.
And that's another one where we have one bill, the September payment was not split. So we're gonna be moving about $200 over to that, but still, I think the 750s, unless you wanna, I mean, we think the cost of that is going up for next year.
Maybe you should just leave it to cover the cost of increase.
Move it back to 1,000.
I think that's probably fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Electricity was 2,360 through 118 the last time I looked at it. So that probably should stay at 4. It was above 3,000 the year before.
Okay.
I haven't heard about any increase in water. That can probably stay at 500. Facility repairs. I looked at that. There's been $215.54 charged to the fire fund.
How much did you say was charged to the fire fund?
215.54.
Some of that's a deductible for the insurance repair or no?
Wouldn't think so, Heidi, because that was this year would be my guess.
Oh, okay. So.
The
Parking lot.
215.54. Well, 132 of it was fire extinguisher maintenance. See, we've never split that, but it could be split. And 2 other things, one for 60 and one for $24, roughly, that's rounding, were something that was charged on the Visa.
So what does
For
this
fire.
typically get used for? 9:30?
Chief,
Well, it hasn't been used for a lot since the building was redone.
So we had a large expense a couple years ago when the ambulance bay door broke and we had to have the overhead door come in.
Yeah.
and replace the stairs. So things like that, but a lot of stuff I'll take care of. Just repairing the small items.
Okay.
so we also set 7,000 aside in fire fund for this account, this line item, excuse me. So that's 14,000 for building repairs annually.
Keep waiting for an overhead door or an operator to break.
Especially if they're 10 or 12 years old.
They're
Let's
older
just
than
leave it at
that.
7 then.
Okay.
We don't have any capital expenditure plans over there. And contingency is 5,000, what it's been the last year, nothing spent out of that the last 2 years.
Can you take some out and put it towards your fire truck maintenance that you need 50 grand for? That would be taking 50 down to 40. To fix the truck.
Well, we wouldn't be taking it out of the ambulance fund.
So that would likely be considered improper, Heidi.
Yep, because it's not mansion funds. I get it.
No, the ambulance is paid for by additional voted millage.
Oh, that's right. You guys split that. Sorry.
And so for us to take money from that assessment for something other than ambulance is likely unpopular, if not illegal. So that does leave us with a little bit of residual money in that account. I see that will exceed, revenues will exceed expenditures by about 35, almost $36,000. And as of 11:30, I see that the ambulance fund has about $225,000 in it.
240, almost 248,000 as of the end of December.
Hey, Ron, what was the total expenditures?
Total expenditures for ambulance fund was $314,800.
Thank you.
So that only changed by $75.
So speaking of money that is in an account, not doing anything, that comes from the taxes, this one's growing quite a bit.
What's that?
Ambulance fund.
Well, I think last year we didn't spend all what we brought in, did we?
It looks like.
Last year, we had to pay more out because we had that extra time too.
No, we had total revenues last year of 413,000. Well, there was a transfer from other funds
Right.
last year,
Mhm.
but we're not asking, there isn't any transfer proposed this year.
No, I was talking about the contractual services. We budgeted for 295 and we paid 311,972 because we had additional time.
Yeah, we
That
had
wasn't
3
in the
weeks between when
contract.
the ambulance contract, the current one was up and the new one wasn't
Started.
quite in place yet. So we had to, but that shouldn't happen for this year.
So are you wanting to do something here, Ron? What is it you want to, you brought that up for a reason, right?
Well, I think with all of these funds, it
Mhm.
would be proper for the board to determine how much money in savings we should have. What is a proper fund balance? Like at home,
Mhm.
maybe we keep a safety net of 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever the case might be.
You know, I don't know how popular this is with the rest of the board members, but it wouldn't hurt anything for us to do some training on budgeting, the whole board. Not just the
Webinars
one,
are-
not just the one that brings it forward.
Yeah, the webinars are out there. They're free. They're every other month. So I've attended one twice because I thought it was so valuable. And that's the one that MSU puts on in cooperation with Treasury. They're boring 3 hours to sit through, but
And I've been to budgeting seminars too through MTA.
I have too, but Heidi hasn't, have you? For
Heidi
government
has new
budgeting?
books I've been reading, so the MTA has an array of books for you to read. Some that the clerk, one book's just on the clerk and the treasurer. So I'm still reading.
Do you have one for budgeting?
There's one in there for budgeting too.
You didn't answer my question, did you?
I have
One
not
for
taken
budgeting?
training in a training course for budgeting in the last 4 years, but I have been to budget class. But I am reading a new book on. the
I'm
clerk and the
attending some
treasurer
training
budgeting.
second week in April in Bora Bora.
Why are
Maybe
you
you'd
laughing?
like to
Have you
go.
seen the book? I'll let you borrow it.
Can we get back to the budget here? Are we
You know
done
what,
with the
Heidi,
ambulance
I've read
fund?
that book many times over the last 12 years I've worked here.
Well,
But
I
thank you
just
for telling
learned
me how to
about
do
it.
my job.
Excellent. I just learned about it, so I'm reading it.
Good for you.
Mhm.
Did you read the one about what trustees do?
Yep, I'm reading about 7 different books right now.
So I'm good with ambulance fund.
Public improvement fund?
So I've got some questions here. So when it's my turn, let me know. Ardella, you seem to be the champion of this account.
Mhm. And you wonder why. I explained it at the last.
No,
budget meeting.
no,
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 he's just-
not at all. I was hopeful that maybe you would speak first.
Nope.
Well, I'll speak first. So we've budgeted for a $50,000 transfer from the general fund. I think we already discussed the transfers from the general fund. And then we have begun to be billed by C2AE for their work. Yeah, no, yes, public improvement. We still have 50,000 down for that. I'm good with that. Under professional services, we had paid, this is where we're paying C2AE for the water infrastructure study and the facility needs study. And we paid 2,300 through 10,000 through 2/1. And then what's the one we're paying today, Therese? What are we paying C2AE today total? Oh, okay. So we've been billed,
We paid 2,300.
To my knowledge, the total agreement was under 20 grand. Or
23,000 is the total fee,
23,
13,000 for
okay.
the water study, 10,000 for the facility study. Okay, and they're showing previous fee billing. Well, anyways, the total fee that they've just recently billed us for, we've already paid 23 and they're billing us as of February 22nd for another $7,100 that's going to come out this pay period. Or that's going to come out in this fiscal year.
So
But
if
yeah,
you-
I don't see these invoices.
These We haven't paid, I don't know.
So you don't show that invoice that we paid the 1150? I don't think we have paid that. We've only paid the one. So I would call them and
that's a
ask them
different
about
invoice
that.
number.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I'd call them and ask them about, but anyways, we have a bill for $7,100. So, and I think we had only, let's see, we had 20,000 budgeted. So we're good through the end of this fiscal year. But we do need to put, we need to put money in here for professional services to cover that contract.
So is 10 gonna do it?
I don't think so because
she's about
I didn't bring my calculator in here,
It's
but
about
if we
14
paid
short.
So if we just took a look at
23,
24,000 as the total agreement and us paying 10, I would say that
That's
leaves a
not-
14,000 boot,
And
round numbers.
No, that's not gonna be enough.
And I've
Um,
highlighted the 10,000 as being not enough.
Yeah,
So, and this might not be the only thing we want to do in the public improvement fund. So for example, and I apologize if I'm wrong, you've often talked about a track, a walking track,
Mhm.
a walking path. Is that still something that you think we want to look towards?
Anything that you do in your parks and recreation that is for health for your citizens, and a walking path would be for our younger citizens, for our older citizens, everybody would have use of it. It is a good thing for your community. At least that's what I believe, and everything I've ever read says that, so.
So not fully understanding all of the survey documents that we might have in-house. Do you think there's ever been a survey done on High Prairie Park? Do we actually know where the boundaries are?
Yeah, I do believe that there's been an official boundaries survey done. I want to think I've actually seen it at one point. I cannot tell you when it was, Ron. It was before this
Well,
board.
Cheryl, have you seen any survey for High Prairie Park?
survey, I don't know if we have a survey or not. I'm sure there was a survey at one point. Might be a while back, but we have
You can look
the,
in the zoning files back there, because they keep a lot of that stuff in those files.
and we have, I don't know if it was a survey done at the same time, but many years ago, that plan that's over on the board over there for the walking path and that.
Because that park borders private property. So it's important to know where your boundaries are. And that's why I'm thinking, at one point when we were talking, when Carol Hocken was here, we were talking about putting the walking path outside of the ball field fence going north. And there was a question if there, where's the fence actually at? Is it on our property line? Or do we have enough room between the property north of us and our fence? So that's why I want to think that I recall seeing a survey, because it was done.
So Cheryl, can you look for a survey on that part?
That'd be something you'd want to ask Bob about or something back there. It's all back there.
He wouldn't have that information.
You know, they
Well, I
You're
don't
the
have it
offic-
in here.
You're the official record keeper.
Surveys are back there. Surveys are back there. So you can look through the drawers back there and. find
Goslin
it.
Zubek is probably the ones that did it.
They're the ones that did the last one on Lassie.
Yeah, so, you know,
What
we
was
could
the name of
probably
that?
call
That's
them.
incorrect.
Goslin-
Geomatics did the last one
Yeah,
on
but Goslin
Lossy.
Zubek is the one that I know that they used a lot here in this township. Is a phone call. Do you have one on file? Because they keep them.
Not necessarily, but okay.
So that's for High Prairie Park. Cheryl,
I
is
mean,
that
I
something
can
you're gonna
look
do
in
as
here.
Park and Recs Director?
I can look in here, but there's some park stuff in here. Okay, so I'll look in here, but I'm not gonna go through those files back there. I don't know anything about them. I've never been in them. I'll look in my office.
So the reason I ask is surveys are easily $10,000 to $15,000 today.
It could be expensive, yeah.
And so if we didn't have even the elementary basis information to do a track, I'm recommending that we take that 10 and we go to 15 just for the stuff we need to pay for with C2AE. And let's add another 15 to it for a potential survey.
We'll still owe, after today, we'll still owe C2AE 13,600.
So my 15 number is pretty close.
So what are you recommending here then, Ron?
That we actually have 30,000 on that blank rather than 10.
I don't have a problem with that.
Other things may come up through the year too, and that can always be amended. For instance, I'm not sure what C2AE is going to come up with that we may want to have something further developed with them.
So are you recommending maybe a little more than 30,000, Cheryl?
No, let's just leave it at 30 till we have some more facts.
And that's for High Prairie. Has the track talked anything about a walking track, Cheryl?
It comes up here and there.
So
I believe, the Parks and Rec survey, I don't remember the Parks and Rec survey that's right over here on the table. That was one of the questions on that, was about a walking path at High Prairie.
So that yields total expenses of 30,000. Leaving a residual of 20,125. And as of 11/30/21, the fund balance was 150,533.
It's pretty close to that, a little over that for the end of December.
So now that we've gone through that, here's an unpopular target. And so if we wanted to bring our budget a little closer to a balance, this is one that I could see we do not fund this year. Like the road. Because we've got, as Cheryl points out, we've got some funds in there so we can take care of the maintenance items that we absolutely need to. And with a fund balance of about 150,000 in this particular fund, we can still make the expenses we talked about if we get that far. And so I'm recommending that we remove our contribution from the general fund of both public improvement and road improvement funds, road repair funds. Thus,
Nothing to either place.
Replacement fund, you mean, right?
yep, road replacement fund, thus bringing back into line a more balanced budget.
Let's
Again,
do it.
this is a targeted cut.
0 in public improvement and,
Well, I want to hear from other board members, Cheryl.
okay, I get it.
You know, how important is a balanced budget to
Very
us?
important.
So you say that, Heidi, and I would just like to play the devil's advocate for a little bit.
Go ahead.
And so I once thought that the only way we could function is with a balanced budget. I've come to learn that in the public life, that isn't necessarily true. Stuff pops up, storms happen, right? And it's nice to have some of that money available for
Just
a
in
track
case.
or for a survey, that because we just adopt by cost centers, we can move that to a different park, for example, right? And so I've learned to rather be, I'd much rather be cash rich than cash
Just
poor. And so that's just a counterpoint. And I'm not saying what's right or wrong, but I'm looking at these fund balances and I can see where this could be a target to look at.
To make an
Well,
adjustment.
I would like to, I like the way you're thinking and I like the way you guys are thinking about this. What I would like to do is I'd like to finish the budget, come down with the final numbers and then decide,
Okay.
do we take this 100,000 and put it back in so it doesn't come out of the general fund?
I'm
We'll see
fine
where
with
our
that.
balance is at. Let's get
Yeah.
all the numbers ran first.
Sure.
I would be comfortable with that.
Okay.
You know, it's really hard to tell when you're changing numbers and balances are changing. So a final document that shows us what it is. You know, the final note, you're seeing it there, Ron, you're working with your Excel.
Yeah, so
not.
currently.
Yeah.
As we have things set, we're about 444,000 red.
Well, what was it last year?
Last year, let's see, it was about, I think, 170, 150, if I remember correctly. I didn't do that one automatically. 143. Actual was about well, that just gives me general fund. I'm sorry. That number's not available on this sheet.
I'm getting it. So we had our amended budget last year, 749, 362. Actually, that's the same as the original budget that we plan to spend, 749, 362. And we planned to bring in $526, $245, $223.17,
200.
$223 and
Should
I'm
be
sorry. 223,000. 749, we want to do it this way.
According,
$223,117.
according to my actual, we were only read about $10,000 or $12,000.
Yeah, that's just it. See, what happens is we budget to spend money and then we don't spend it. So many times we've even been under what we proposed to spend.
But last year we did exceed, expenses exceeded revenue in the general fund by about $10,000 or $12,000, Heidi. But we did budget for about 223,000.
Got it. Thank
Okay.
you.
But that does show a trend, right?
Yep.
That does show a trend that, you know, if we were in business, we would definitely be concerned about expenses
Yep.
outpacing revenues.
So are we ready to move on to fire cap then?
Yep, I am. So this is the meeting that I missed. And I had difficulty understanding the $35,000 that y'all talked about moving from general to fire fund was for labor. And then there was 50,000 to move from the general fund here to fire cap. That was my final understanding of the conversation. Is that about right?
Yep.
And as you can see, I recommended originally that we move 90,000 from the general fund, but that was ARPA money. Now I understand that we have a different fund for ARPA dollars. And so moving it from the general to fire cap is no longer correct. I'm still a proponent of funding upcoming purchases. This is now we can't do the chief's vehicle, but we can still do the brush truck. And I understand, Cheryl, that we have money already set aside for the brush truck. Got it. But through our discussion here, we could easily say, well, you know what? We'll take that money for the brush truck, move it to the engine, and we'll take ARPA funds and cover the brush truck. I've heard public comment here today that the fire department is priority one. I've felt that for a long time. Not all the residents are going to feel that way, though.
Nope.
But we gave a third to internet. I think it's a reasonable discussion, hopefully non-controversial with the public, that we would give a third of ARPA funds to the fire department.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we agreed as a board that we were gonna do some
We
public
did.
input
Yeah.
Mhm.
before we spent any more money. We haven't really spent the money yet for the broadband. So I'm concerned about budgeting to put the money in there when we haven't even talked to the public. That's like saying, we've already decided what to do with the money, but why don't you tell us what you want?
You know, I didn't look at it from that perspective, but I
Still
can
got a
certainly
third
see that. I can certainly see that.
So
Yeah, I think what Della said is, we would be very premature to put ARPA funds anywhere.
you know, we've already been
Then we were
criticized
already
for
here.
doing
Right,
the broadband. I don't really want to compound
right. Agony.
or the mistake, or, you know,
Yeah, maybe
Or
we
before
should
the-
read a few more of those 400+ pages of the ARPA rules.
there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. And like I say, my reading so far is only focused on the money we did allocate thus far.
Yeah.
And
We
so
haven't.
fire could be something very similar. You're right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna withdraw my recommendation there. And just, I guess, agree with what the board has done thus far in moving $50,000 from general to this fund. Did anyone else have concerns on this? What you already kind of determined on your first budget meeting? 2.9, I think, is that about when it was?
Mhm.
Now, we didn't, on 2.9, I don't think we talked about anything coming out of fire cap. Because I still
We
have
didn't really
zeros.
talk about fire cap on 2.9 other
just talking about the
than,
money.
we really didn't talk
Okay.
about it other than this $50,000 for the fire engine.
And the pay. The employment pay.
Our our big item that we have to be concerned with is the replacement, I'm sorry, of the engine.
I have talking topics on that. But
And
I
can we
want to,
just find out what the bottom line, what the necessary figure is that we need to put in there? We do have, we've got our $100,000 for replacement brush truck, which I get it, you're bringing up something else, but still, that is something we need to continue. Now, it hasn't been ordered yet, it's my understanding. But, so that's a discussion point. We do need to have 26,600 in there for the 2 snowmobiles that have been ordered. And then we do have to have $3,338 in there, which is the unused portion of the money we set aside for the chief's vehicle. Are we gonna need that, chief? For further doodads on the,
Yeah, it's possible.
yeah, so or will it be more than that, or do you think, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There are 2 things left. The lettering, which is not gonna be much. And then,
gold leaf is expensive, chief. Mhm.
So with those 3 items that are holdovers from our last budget,
Can you repeat them? 26K for snowmobiles,
26,600 for snowmobiles, 100,000 for the brush truck, and $3,338 of unused money that we set aside for the cost of the chief's vehicle.
so that's chief bling.
So that's
So that's
130,000.
$129,938 is where capital expenditure needs to start before we add anything else to it.
And for discussion purposes, I just rounded them to 27 for the snowmobiles, 100K for brush, 35 for chief bling. So any thoughts about brush truck, chief? The reason we really haven't done much because Dodge is kind of backed out of supplying that market, right? All 3 of them have.
Good.
Okay, so thinking about the brush truck, you wanted to be like a medium duty 550 frame, which I'd consider to be in the neighborhood of like a ton and a half truck, right? 1.5 tons at least. Yeah, maybe a 2 ton. So then does that mean that we're off into the inner smashables again? Internationals for a frame, or that really wouldn't work for a brush truck, would it?
no.
Mm.
That would be too large.
Yep.
Be gigantic.
Plus, our whole idea is to move our skid unit. That's on
How much does
our military truck.
how much
Yep.
does it weigh? This kid.
It's about 5,500.
So just out of curiosity, rethinking the format of the truck, just because the format might not be available to us, right? What happens if we went with two smaller units? ATV size probably isn't big enough to do what needs to be done. Okay.
No, because you gotta use.
I'm hoping to hear in the next couple of months what the 2023 price is gonna be. That's the only holdup right now. Planning on the pricing for the 2023 model. And then they'll start taking orders.
So with our inflation pegged at 7 point what %, Cheryl?
7.5 currently.
I think we could easily incorporate a 15% increase on that 100K expenditure. And that might even be light. It's a guess.
It is.
So that'd be 115 or 120.
Are you changing the amount?
I'm asking for conversation.
I think that's a good idea because you don't even know if you're gonna be able to get a truck.
Well, this is when we appropriate funds, so
We don't
They
have a
need to
lot
be
of
in the-
options.
What was that, 200,000, chief?
I'm just gonna throw that in there, see if anyone's paying attention.
Normally, if I bring a change to the board, it would be with some documentation. but,
yeah,
There's just really nothing. They're being super secretive about it. And it's like,
yeah.
so, I kind of anticipate an increase for the cabin chassis and also the back part, the utility part that they're gonna mount on. So, but I have no figures. to even
Right.
come up.
Well, does any board member think that a 15% increase is out of line,
No.
one way or the other, high or low?
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with that, because even if it's a little high,
So what are you saying, 115 or 120? What are you thinking, Ron?
Either one is fine with me, because as we've discovered here in conversation, it's all just discussion
Yep.
until the numbers or where we have some type of data. And we have contingency funds, so we can always move those around.
Let's go with 115.
Yep.
Okay,
So you rounded 27,
yep,
115 and 4,000.
I went to 35,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you put 35.
I really rounded.
You want chief to have more bling?
Yes. Deserves it.
Hopefully we get a good amount for selling the expedition.
Yeah, you're probably gonna get 10 grand for that thing. Wait about a couple hours when it starts really snowing out there and then just
So
pop
what
it on the
that,
corner.
what is that number, Ron?
You know, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, I'm just finishing it up. 145,500. 145,500.
Is that the figure then for 970?
That's what I've put in there.
That fund also has some residual money in it. So So it's got 223,329 right now, or as of the end of December. Of course, it doesn't get tax money. And if you take out the, let's just call it 130,000.
It's 145,500.
No. What I'm talking about is, let me do that again, 223,329. 223,329.
We wind
Yeah,
up,
we can take that. I was gonna do the other number first, but
we wind
so
up,
that's a fund balance in there of almost $78,000.
well, my numbers are different. If we fund it at 50, subtract 145,500, that's a negative balance of 96,325. So that will reduce then the fund balance to about $134,000.
Okay, I'm taking the fund balance of December 31st.
I sure wish I could get that information because I work
Okay.
off the stuff
Della
from
was supposed to
November.
send that to you at the last meeting, 223,329. Okay, and then if you want to add the 50,000 to that, that comes, so I was taking the 223,329. Sorry, I forgot.
It doesn't matter. She should have supplied it to us.
But it comes from my office. is what she said.
223,329, okay? And then you're adding 50,000 to that through a transfer. Okay, that gets you to 273,329 minus the 145,500 we're budgeting to spend, leaves 127,829 in that fund. Correct?
Well, I just did it in my head and I think I said about 130. So, yep, pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, so we're all good.
So,
And these balancing reports, I believe the December balancing report was in the last packet under treasurer's reports. I'm pretty sure that was, wasn't it, Lois? You gave that to me.
it could have been, but again, this document went out, right? At the
Sure.
beginning of February.
Oh, I get it. I get it. But I'm just saying Heidi said something about getting the documents. They're in the board packets.
But when this document goes out in February,
Right.
at least I could do is have December numbers,
And you should ask Della's office for that. She has the
Which-
most current numbers.
which would be in the March packet or February packet.
Okay, well, you can ask Della's office anytime for a cash balancing report.
So I'm good there. Anybody else? So then you were supposed to send me information on the federal fund, Cheryl. All I did was guess at this.
The federal fund. Okay, the federal fund, where's my little thing here?
Brand new
Um,
fund.
Yep, brand new.
Yes, when I sent you the updated budget worksheet, it had the federal fund in there. We have not created any expenditure line items yet for the federal fund. So I sent you that last week. I think it was, might have been on Thursday, might have been on Friday.
I don't think I have an updated
I did
budget
that on
document.
2/24. I sent you out a new budget worksheet, which would only affect expenditures mainly. And then I sent you out, all the board got a new rev expense. I sent that out on 2/24 to everybody. And the budget worksheet was in Excel and the rev expense was a PDF. That was on 2/24. And like I say, we haven't created any, the federal fund is just a bare bones to get the fund going and put in a line item to receive the ARPA funds. We have not created any expenditure line items for the federal fund yet. So we can create those, but we have not created those yet.
Be my recommendation that we just cover it blanket wise and put an expenditure number, if we want to, in contingency.
I think the money needs, if we're gonna do anything, it should go into contingency only. Because,
We haven't had the discussion.
right, and
Yep.
I, quite honestly, looking at reporting wise, if we're planning to spend, because this is planning to spend or possibly spend, I'd rather not have anything in line items.
Yeah.
At least until after this first reporting and we know what's going on,
There
and
you go.
unfortunately, that's after April 1st.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm-
see, we, right now, all we can do is show the money coming into the fund.
That's the activity.
Because although we have with the broadband, we've made a commitment to spend a third. We haven't received all of those, all of the ARPA funds yet.
So what's going on?
So, and are we going to, if we're gonna get this public comment, I don't know that we need to, that can be a budget amendment later to put any type of expenditure in the federal fund.
I would feel more comfortable doing it as a budget amendment when we actually know what we're doing with it. And only in, like you said, maybe putting something in the contingency. So that if something does come up that we've agreed on, or however the process is gonna go, that the money's there. But if you would rather just leave it blank, Cheryl, leave it all zeros and do an actual budget amendment when those decisions are made, I'm okay with that also.
Well, we have already made the commitment to do the broadband. So what line item would that be under? Would that be a capital expenditure?
Bringing this conversation back to where I thought it started was we would look at contingency as our line item. And then when we decided an actual expense, i.e. interweb,
Because we really don't have any
I didn't see.
And if-
another
if
place
you're-
to
items
put it.
here.
yeah, if you're looking at the
I'm looking at yours.
Excel sheet,
Yeah.
you know, I just guessed, right? And so there's professional services in there. There's not very many expenditures. So, and I don't think I like contingency because it's unallocated money. And as you pointed out, we've not really had any public input. The one decision we did make could be called into review. And so, yeah, my thought is really more along the lines on the upper half under revenue. We already received 147 in, that was in this budget year. So we're thinking we're going to receive another 147 into next budget year, right?
I would think so.
So this account, as I see it, April 1st, will have a balance in it. This fund will have a balance of about 147 in it, where I currently show it as 0. And then we just need to plan for any expenses that can come out in 2023.
Mhm. So,
But revenue would be 145.
Yeah, I have 147 for some reason.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 147, and that's supposed to come in under the deferred revenues, the 528. I know you're not seeing that, but I did send that to you. So
so this will
you
just,
do have it in your
this
email.
590 will be changed to 528.
528.
Yeah,
For
I didn't
federal
even know
funds.
what to make as the revenues. I'm sorry, the account numbers or line item numbers.
You did fine.
It's just a guess.
So revenue in 528 will be 147.
And what did you call five? Well, I'll wait until I get the sheet.
It's I think it's other federal funds.
And what do we want to do for expenses? We can leave it zero. We can go to contingency. We can leave it all zeros. I'm fine with either one.
Let's just create a contingency line item.
Okay. And that'll be a standard 890 line number, Cheryl.
Yep.
Now, do we do a contingency to spend it all? Project it all, even though we don't know what we're gonna be doing? Knowing that we probably are not going to, but
I'm thinking about what you said earlier
About the 400 pages of reading. That's what I was thinking.
about public comment. Well, gee, they already put it into contingency, you know. Maybe we ought to think about just funding the one decision we're already on the hook for.
I think that makes sense.
I have no idea how long it's gonna take to do the public input and make the decisions and.
Right.
But we're gonna have to expense it because we already made the commitment to pay.
So that'd be about 98,000. Because it was a third of the funds.
Round it to 100, it's easier.
I like that, Heidi. Let's just take it to 100,000. Because as I understand, we can use ARPA funds to pay for the auditor to help us file the audit,
I
the ARPA paperwork.
I'm like, wow, it just gets better and better.
Yeah.
But it's government, so we should expect that.
I will mention too, and this kind of has to do with fire capital improvement. I did contact rural development. And I talked to a lady and she has sent me some paperwork about a loan for the fire engine. And I'll have to get everybody the information, but they like to be considered, their rate would be 2.125, I think they said. So a really low interest rate. And they like to be the lender of last resort. So what they do is they require that you approach other banks. She gave me the names of a couple, 3 banks.
So you get turned down first and then use that.
And so we would contact them and see, you know, what the likelihood is. It might be nice to have, I know you were thinking 500,000, but do you think that's higher now? Or I gave her a $600,000 figure. But it's probably definitely worth doing the homework to find out, okay, at this amount, you know, and then here's what it's going to cost, what we think it's going to cost. Here's what we have on hand. This is how much we need to finance. How much would the payment be? You know, find that out so that we can, you know, get going on that sooner than, because if we have to wait until we keep setting cash aside, we're not going to get there very quickly.
I do apologize for my next comments. I really believe that we should address the staffing issue first
I agree also.
before looking at a fire engine. If we don't have staff to drive the fire engine,
Why are we buying it?
there's really no reason to have a fire engine. I don't have any good alternatives here. Looking at how we used to look at ambulance from a budget perspective, we're going to be looking at about 4 people. I've heard numbers from this discussion, listening to recordings of about $80,000 per person. That's $320,000 annually for wages. And I've also heard that we really don't have a lot of stomach to increase the millage, the fire millage, a
Yeah.
significant amount. And $300,000 is a significant amount.
How many full-time people does Elk Rapids have? Do you know? Yeah. Chief Williamson.
It's important to note, though, that their employment situation is much different than ours. The local employment situation.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, yeah.
The workers that we have locally here on the fire department, to my knowledge, most of them can't leave their work posts.
You say can't, right?
Cannot
Cannot.
leave their work post to serve at the fire department. So that puts us at a huge disadvantage.
I think it argues for the fact that it needs to be more attractive for businesses to locate here so that we can get more local employment for people. That's been a huge, huge problem here for a long time. We don't have the local employment that Acme does or Elk
And we
Rapids
do-
Township.
And we do have mutual aid. You know, we're a small township, small fire department. The budget's not there to hire 4 people. I do not believe our township residents could stand an increase as large as what you're talking about for the fire assessment. I do not believe they could stand it.
Yeah, I agree.
So-
They're gonna ask where the benefit is, and there isn't one for them in their eyes.
You mean if we were to do a large increase
Mhm.
to hire full-time employees,
Mhm.
they would say that's not a benefit.
So
They look at what you're benefiting with an employee, they look at it. Okay, have you ever heard the expression, when I moved here, if it started, I was told, if it starts on, because I was investigating all this. So if it starts on fire, you get everybody out and you walk away. That's why you pay insurance.
Yeah, they
And
say
if you need a
basements,
cop,
everybody's
if-
heard that.
Right, so if you need a cop, same thing, lock and load till they get here. So they know that they're paying for a minimal insurance policy, because that's all the fire and police are, is an insurance policy. But they also have to look at it when they dial 911, they want someone to come pretty damn quick. Well, the pretty damn quick would be if you had more employees to send them, or you weren't so spread out. A lot of larger towns and communities that are stretched out have satellite stations. Cheryl, didn't you say we're one of the largest townships in mileage? Like, what are we, 52 miles or something? Didn't you tell me that?
In
once?
geographical area,
Yes.
we are the largest township
Okay, no.
in
but
Grand
there's one
Traverse
other-
County.
oh,
Oh, in Grand Traverse, yes. not in
Yes,
the
we
state of
are.
Michigan. I
I've
know.
looked it all up.
That's all right. I
Paradise
just
is
said
just
you're
right
right.
below us.
Can
We
I
do have some of
finish?
it as water, but, well, you asked the question. I'm trying to
I
answer your
know, well, all
question.
I needed was the 52.
Oh,
number.
I see.
That's all I needed was the 52 number, 54. So anyways, most demographics that cover that much area have 2 fire stations. I was in 4 square miles with 10,000 people. We had 2. Want to know why? Because we had a train.
Well, our
So-
population density isn't anywhere near that.
No, it's not. So that's the other thing you have to throw in here. We don't have a large amount of people, so you can't start comparing what kind of fire coverage everybody else is given when your population isn't the same.
Chief and I've had some discussions about our ring of service, a ring of value, okay? And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but currently, those residents within a 5-mile circle or circumference of the fire station enjoy a protection level of number 6. That's an ISO, Insurance Service Organization rating number, provided to folks who insure our residents as kind of a multiplier, maybe a credit type thing. Those residing more than 5 miles from the station move to a class 10, which is considered no fire protection,
Even though you have a small amount.
even though there may be help from neighboring townships. It'd be interesting to see where our population center is. Where is 5 miles? Arguably, Skigmog Point Road won't make it. They'll be outside of the 5 mile.
Well, I'm outside of the 5 miles, but I don't have a protection rating of 10 on my policy because I'm closer to Elk Rapids Fire Department than this department in mileage.
Wouldn't that work the same way for Island Lake people because they're closer to East Bay?
So to my knowledge, ISO should be assigned, you should be assigned to the,
Him, because that's where her tax dollars are going.
yep, so
But I don't know.
that may be a benefit that your agent is providing you,
Yes,
but it
Yes.
may not,
Be real.
you, you
Well, I
may
don't
not
see
be
why
covered.
it matters where you pay your taxes. It matters where the fire protection is located according to where you live. That's how insurance companies do it. They don't care where you're paying your taxes.
no,
And that could be.
Yeah.
That could
But
be.
when you dial 911, he's coming first before Elk Rapids, because he's gonna make the assessment to see if he needs mutual aid or not.
No, we have set up automatic aid and that's the key word.
So they already come automatic, so everybody rolls?
And that's
Okay.
part of the ISO.
So
That's
if my
why they're
house
getting
catches
it.
on fire, Williamsburg's coming. Who else is coming?
Metro, Station 8, and probably Station 1.
1 and 8 probably coming. by
Now
then.
that I said that.
I know, you better do something. You'll be out and, okay, we'll just walk away and get a new one.
I think,
Grab my dogs and run.
the staffing is
That's what I have to do.
a critical thing. It would be nice probably to have, well, of course, it would be nice to have 4 full-time firefighters at this station, but it's not realistic. One more full-time person would probably, and you say 80,000, I guess, so far we haven't seen anything on paper. It would be nice to see that on paper, where the 80,000 is being derived from.
How about
So
this?
I don't think the board is against looking at that. I
But we
haven't
just need
heard
more
anyone
information.
say that, but once again, it comes down to, we need the hard facts on paper.
And just to be clear, it's not 4 people at the station at one time.
No,
Oh, I
it's
get
not.
it.
You need,
Right, and there's
3.3
shifts.
people to cover the 24-hour shift, right?
Right.
And so that's like 1 extra person at the station to respond with our 1 employee.
Oh, that's a
We
sick
don't-
call, babe.
We don't have anybody there now 24/7.
No,
Oh, but-
you're right.
But you
And
have to remember, you're either doing 8-hour shifts or 12. So then you're either going to 3 on, 4 off, 2 on, whatever. It still starts out 1 person is 4 if you're doing it.
Well, maybe that's something that Chief could also include in his proposal.
you,
Show them how you got 8 hours, 12
you
hours.
bring up a good
24.
point, Ardella. We don't have people there 24 hours now. But when looking at the larger picture, which we've kind of discussed here several times about employees and how they need to be able to rely on a certain number of hours. Whether or not we put 1 person or 2 people in the station, it's going to have to be a full-time job for them. Recently, I think we've read about the woes from Traverse City. They're full-time, they're union. Maybe they're not union. their union,
Traverse Union.
and they're still having trouble finding people. I wonder if the emergency services as a whole global work group, we've just lost interest in doing it because it's been underfunded for so many years.
I'm not gonna say underfunded, I'm gonna say unappreciated.
Oh,
It's become
well.
very dangerous too. I mean, not that it wasn't dangerous before, but
Now the public is the danger, where before we could keep the public away. So we could basically, block everything off and keep, the idiot that wants to run and, in there and do something. Now you can't do that because you don't have the personnel even to do your traffic, let alone secure your scene.
Ardella, can you finish your thought?
no, because I lost
I'm
it.
sorry. I thought that's where you were going. So
Well, yeah, she's right about what she's saying there, but it's also, it's more dangerous. And we've only seen the big drop since COVID hit. Frontline workers
I see
are
what you're saying.
all subjected to
Right.
any virus that's out there, and COVID's just the beginning of it. Who knows what's coming? And people are going, this isn't worth it. I can get this much money sitting behind a desk or selling used
Mhm.
cars or
yeah,
and I can go home at night and I don't have to worry about my tones going off and now I gotta leave. So it's like what Chief was saying during our meeting, about what motivates
there isn't any.
a first responder,
There isn't any.
whether it's ambulance or it's fire, they're unique personalities. They have to really want to do that type of job. Cause they gotta want to serve the public, be a public servant. It's gotta be in their blood. That's why you see repeated generations of police officers, repeated generations of firefighters, same thing for emergency people. It's in their blood.
Now-
If they're just doing it for the money, they get out of it rather quick and they move up the ladder into something more.
But if you add what she said with, illness, COVID, and now you gotta add one other thing. What about the violence that's been created? An EMT can't even go into a scene now without a cop. That didn't happen before.
Well,
I'm not
COVID
talking
has,
here. I'm not talking here.
well, it has
but,
happened here, Heidi. This
I don't
COVID thing
know.
has made people go crazy. They've been locked down so long.
Well, I know
Yeah,
that.
suicide rates have went up,
Okay.
the
So now you're taking-
alcoholism has
right.
went up, abuse for children and spousal abuse, that's all went up, and it's all mental stuff.
So you
It's
still
happening
need to
during
take
that.
the guy with the gun with you now into the scene. So
Well,
the fire
I
guy's
know, I
gotta
get
take the
it,
cop
it's
with
gotten
him.
more dangerous to be a public servant, I get that.
Which-
But, we've tried to address some of this with the shift work for weekends on call. And if we're not gonna be able to do, maybe one full-time person to go with it, maybe we do more shift work where we're covering more of the evenings with shift work, not just the weekends. I mean, we talked about that.
And I would say, and maybe, you're saying it's not money that motivates the firefighters, but the shift money that we put in there, the $21,000. I mean, if somebody is able to, they can pick up 2 or 3 of those shifts a week. And they can assure themselves of,
Yeah, I'm not saying
Hundreds.
it's not the money, Cheryl. I'm saying
Right.
it still takes a certain personality, a certain person,
sure,
type of person.
sure.
So the shift work is still going to guarantee us, and this was something I want to make sure everybody understands. The fire personnel who pick up these shifts are not going to be at the station.
No, we get
They're
that.
going to be at their regular home doing regular things.
That's what the chief told us.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so currently that elicits a 23-minute response.
Ouch.
Well, they can be at the station for part of it or all of it if they want to. I mean, we don't know what they're gonna do. If
For
they're gonna
$100 a
spend
day?
24 hours of it at their home. I don't think they're required to be at their home either. I think the chief had some kind
They had
of
to be within 10 minutes or
radius.
something.
And how many people do we have? to do
Excuse me,
that?
Heidi,
I'm listening to you,
wasn't
Cheryl,
done
but I
talking.
can't help you unless I know how many people you're talking about.
And I'm not talking about number of people right now. I'm
Okay.
simply talking about the on-call
I'll
shift
wait.
wages that we appropriated the money for, and that the chief is hoping will get him some firefighters that will show up. I think we have to start there and see how that goes. And, you know, we've appropriated, now we're paying firefighters for 240 hours of training time. We probably should have been doing that all along. You know, I think we have to start with what we've already talked about, which I think the chief is, would he like to have a couple, 3 full-time firefighters? Yes. So I'd like to have 2 deputy clerks too, but it's not allowed. So, you know, we're going down a road that we're hoping is going to help. And in the meantime, I think I'd like to see these numbers for a full-time person. And as far as the fire special assessment district, I think what we've decided on that is that we're not going to raise that at this particular budget public hearing, but that we might continue the discussion on that to figure out how to fund personnel, maybe a better way, you know, if we're going to need to raise that a little bit to fund personnel and or a fire engine. So I don't think the possibility of raising the fire special assessment district was 100% foreclosed. And I liked Della's idea of doing a temporary increase, especially with respect to, you know, getting this fire engine thing, getting a plan for how that's going to be replaced, because it sounds like it's going to need to be replaced sooner rather than later.
Well, just this year, we're gonna have a $50,000 repair bill on it.
You don't know that.
That's
we're
if we
hoping
send
not.
it in for the plumbing work, but I'm trying to avoid.
He said he was gonna
spending
stretch it as long as he could. Correct?
What's that?
You said you were gonna stretch it as long as you could.
Sure.
That's what he told us.
Just like your car needs something major, and you try to baby it along as long as you
Okay,
can.
I can't come up
because you
with
wanna
any
get a new
solutions
car.
Unless I ask this question. So how many firefighters do we really have on call?
9 currently.
And 2 are totally off the table except for Saturday and Sunday, correct? During the day, daytime hours, because they work where they
No.
can't leave.
All
Oh, all of them.
of them. And then I have one guy up in college and then another guy who's not completely trained.
I'm jealous, Ardella.
I'm just sitting here going, wow, 12, almost 12. She's
I
eating.
saw
I'm bringing
him
lunch
chewing out there and I
tomorrow.
thought,
I brought some great.
You know what, I'm gonna
he
start.
deserves to be
packing.
rolled.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'll stop.
No, no,
No,
no,
don't
no.
worry about it.
I
Who
have one
cares
in
at
my
this
bag,
point?
so.
I
no-
can go
no
in my
worries.
car and get some food. The
So
problem
what's
is
your
we have
thought,
one.
Heidi?
Well. 23 minutes of response. That's just to get to the station. We didn't even get, is that 23?
That's to the scene.
Location.
That's to the scene?
That's to the
Okay.
scene.
I thought
And that's
you went
very
from there.
that's very unfair, right?
Uh-huh.
To take one call and peg it as an average, right?
Well, you can't really do that now because you're only gonna have two
Depends the
people,
location of the call.
right? I get that. 2 people on the weekends is all the help you have right now. Because that's all, except for your mutual aid.
Yes,
Oh, we've ever had.
And you're right, and your mutual aid.
it's more than what we've had.
Yeah.
Chief's plan is more than what we've
Yep.
had.
It's increased. See, Michigan's killing you by making them be firefighter 1 and firefighter 2. It's almost like they did that on purpose to make it fund the station instead of volunteers.
I think Michigan is the highest state in the nation. Well, no, California and New York are as bad. We're right up there, cost of living and everything is higher in Michigan. Everything.
I'm talking, okay, I wasn't talking about that, but okay. I was talking about making them take firefighter 1 and firefighter 2.
They
because
make
then-
everything difficult.
Right,
here, is
because
what I'm saying.
yeah, right, because then the people can't leave. The 2 volunteers we got during the day can't leave because they're working for the state of Michigan. Okay. But the state of Michigan tied your hands. Because where I come from, if that tone went off and we're at work, we leave work. In fact, your boss just covers for you. There's no question there.
It used to be that way, but they don't have that mentality anymore.
So
That's an interesting concept, okay?
That's
what,
true.
what we've discovered is that there's a lot of discussion that needs to take place for this to happen. And I believe that the question we're asking, i.e. funding just the fire engine, is the tip of the iceberg we should really be asking.
Mhm.
That's all. That's all it was meant to do.
But you're right, Ron, the conversation has to start somewhere.
I mean, you could take this to another level too. You could require all new housing units to have sprinkler systems.
All new houses or housing units?
Any house you build. Whether it
That's
be
so
apartment-
expensive.
It is, but guess what? It cuts down on your firefighter needs, doesn't it?
But you've just eliminated the people that are lower
Mhm.
income.
Mhm.
So that's
That's how they're
discrimination.
fixing, yeah, that's how they're fixing it. We'll just put sprinkler systems in everything.
Actually, that's been a requirement in the Michigan Building Code for 2 decades.
Oh, really? You do have it up there? But not for houses?
Mhm.
Oh, for houses
Yep.
too?
That's in residential occupancy, but we've never, and coming out of the fire protection industry, I would never recommend that for a house.
Interesting.
Just don't keep up on the
Right, no.
On
maintenance
the
of it.
maintenance, yeah, you do have to keep up on the maintenance or it doesn't work when you need it. It's kind of like. the
So
smoke alarm.
we've identified a larger discussion. Okay, good for us.
I'll put it on the list.
Yep. It's getting to be a big list. So reviewing some other individual funds or departments, I should say. In this particular case, it's the recreation fund. Can we flip to the recreation fund? Everybody there?
Mhm.
We were supposed to get the previous lease for the ball diamonds available to the board. Does that come out? Did that come out on the 24th?
No, no, I think I still have that as something to do. Send the ball field lease. Yep. And remember that in the township, there, at least as far as for Whitewater Township Park, there has been a policy that we do not charge school groups. Like, for instance, if a school group with a school that is for Mill Creek, in other words, Mill Creek, because that's the school that is located in the township. If they wanted to have an event at Whitewater Township Park at the pavilion, they would not be charged.
And I think that ballpark,
Seems
Larry Lake
reasonable.
probably could tell you, but I think that ballpark there was donated by the
It
school,
was.
because the school used to sit there.
Yeah,
And he's, Larry, like I said, Larry Lake could tell you because he's been well, he was a teacher for Elk Rapids schools, but also because he was involved in their Little League program all the way from
Yeah.
T-ball up through the high school level.
Yep.
And they've always played games over there at those two, at the backfield, they always played games. I remember my nephew Jeremiah playing back there, high school games back there. Before they had the field up there, but I think that's one of the reasons why we don't charge, or we never have, is because it's school related and the school donated the property.
Seems reasonable.
Mm.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure we got the lease. Then the other
And that
line.
was something you asked for through email. You
and
might have asked for it at the meeting too, but I'll send it.
The other line item I have highlighted, and this is probably my mistake, but we increased lawn maintenance service by like $2,500. And the note that I put down is that all other mowing values stayed the same because we're in the middle of a 3-year contract. So why did lawn maintenance go up for recreation fund $2,500? Did I make a
Well,
mistake?
Well,
Cemeteries?
I will just tell you that last year, we didn't have a contract for mowing in place until May. So we had already done the budget for last fiscal year when we signed that mowing contract. That's precisely why I made the statement at the Park and Rec Fund meeting that any new, whatever we decide to do this next time around in a couple years about mowing needs to be done in the fall, so that we have all of that budget information available in January, February, and March, when we're supposed to be working on the budget. So, and you can see that the mowing fees were, now I can pull the, but see also, yeah, I'm not sure if that's where we had $7,200 in mowing fees. And that's why I put it up to 8,500.
But
what
we
do you-
already had the contract in place, because as I recall, you said we're in the middle of a 3-year contract.
This summer will be in the second year.
This summer it will be in the second year. Okay.
Yes.
So
And so we spent $71.95 last year. And the 6,000 that was allocated last year, we didn't have the contract available when we chose that number.
gotcha.
If we don't spend it, we don't spend it. I don't remember that the amounts in the second year and the third year all went up by a lot. They don't. But I'm just throwing that in there as what I consider to be a safe number.
So all the other mowing line items, we must have guessed correctly. It's just recreation that we,
Yeah, and there's a lot of mowing over there. And the ball field is irrigated. The main ball field is irrigated. So there's a lot of mowing at High Prairie.
it'd be interesting to see the difference between the previous agreement and the agreement that came into place. Can you also forward that?
So you want me to send you the old mowing contract and the new mowing contract?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if $2,500, we missed something, we missed something, get it? And the other note I have here is that we're hauling some brush from behind the fence. I'm thinking that whoever we hired originally to clean up the stuff, is that where that brush came from? We just moved it from point A to point B?
Well, the Parks and Rec Committee has been wanting the brush that's growing behind the fences, that's growing through the fences, cleaned up. And so Ben did do some of that. I don't think he did any of that this last year. Maybe he did. I don't remember now what year it was. I know that the Parks and Rec Committee has been talking about for a couple years. And actually Amber Barnhart and her dad, Greg Barnhart, have actually done a ton of that work down at the Little League field pro bono.
So this
So,
wasn't a brush pile that accumulated. It's brush that's growing into the fence, basically.
Right,
Gotcha,
right.
gotcha.
It's tall weeds and bushes that are growing through the fence, from behind the fence.
We're not making, when we
So
cut
what
the
we
lawn,
wanted
we're
to
not
do, what was the
maintaining other-
goal, was that we would get that brush out of there so that you could make one mower pass behind the fence and keep that cleaned up.
Seems reasonable.
Right,
For
I
some
would
reason,
think you'd be
I thought it
doing
was
that
brush
anyways.
piles.
no. Not that I remember. Now, Ben has taken care of brush piles over there that he cut that needed to be cut. Remember, we had those trees trimmed on the berms. We had those trimmed a few years ago because, and there's even some, I got some complaints last year about when you park up to the berm and you've got branches hitting your car. People don't like that. And so there is some more branch trimming that needs to be done of the trees on the berms. There's that big berm, overgrown berm that's on the south side of the property that is extremely unsightly. And when you pull in over there, it's, there's the fence. Also, we've got fence over there that's in terrible shape. That fence, that split rail fence, that's, going east-west along the south side of the ball field parking lot, and then going north-south out to Old 72. That's in terrible shape. It's falling down. We haven't even put anything in the budget for that. Parks are expensive to maintain. And this township's got 5 big ones.
And I think that is at the same time we start a fire department conversation, we start a park and recs discussion. I know we've been down that road before. And I know that the 250,000 to fund parks question to the public didn't come out very well. But if that is truly what they want, then that is truly what they want. Or in this case, don't want.
And just remember that in the park fund, you've got, that park is being maintained with 0 taxpayer dollars.
So we're moving
All
out
of the money that's in the park fund is all user fees from the people who actually use the park.
I think he was still talking
I'm
about the
sorry.
other parks that,
Yep.
not the campground.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well,
sure.
it was Cheryl's comment that we have 5 large ones. And so we do have a
yeah.
lot of, we are park land poor.
Friendly. And it's
Poor.
breaking us.
Well, if you want to talk to the people about putting a quarter millage in for parks or recreation parks, then I think you have to show them what the benefit is to them that they're going to be paying for. Keeping up High Prairie Park, keeping the trails open at Losi and Tobico and Battle Creek Natural Area, so that they have access to them. That's a benefit to them.
I'm gonna
What-
play devil's advocate. I'm the taxpayer over here and I'm gonna say, you're not charging enough for your camp rate fees. And it's just not my opinion. I'm getting bombarded with that because everybody goes camping all winter long and they want to know why we didn't raise our.
How's that gonna
rates.
help the recreation fund?
Yeah, let's,
Okay.
Yeah.
you know, we're talking
'Cause I was gonna
about
say,
parks, I get
right.
it, and that's a camping park, I get it.
Well, I was gonna say, suggest a camping, raise the rates and use it to maintenance the rest of your parks. As well as maybe your fire department.
So you're saying bring all the parks under one account?
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, that's a definite change. Use revenue generated by a park for all the parks.
And maybe some fire.
And Whitewater Township Park has other things that aren't even being considered that need to be improved out there. For instance, we have, except for 3, all the sites are 30 amps.
And they need
Everybody
new
wants
electric out
50
there.
amps today.
Yeah, they're.
So
all their
that,
rigs
that has,
retiring.
that's another project that hasn't even been investigated yet.
Cheryl, if you raise the
Because,
rates, you could
excuse
pay
me,
for your
Heidi,
projects.
excuse me. It hasn't been investigated yet because it hasn't floated to the extreme top of the priority list. So that's gonna be an expense. What I'm just saying is you can charge more for camping, but the park's gonna eat it up in things that Whitewater Township Park is going to eat it up in improvements that need to be, other improvements that aren't even on the table right now that need to be made out there. And I think you go to the people, there was a long ago survey in this township, because there's been quite a few surveys done here, about parks. And if you go down through it, I don't remember what year it was now, but if you go down through it, they were asking people, do you want this done at such and such a park? Yes. Do you want to pay for having that done at that park? No. Park millages are not popular.
I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah,
Of course I want it.
because it always comes down to the deciding factor is whether you gotta get your wallet out or not.
Okay, but if
They
gotta
all
get
want
their-
it when they don't think they have to get their wallet out, but as soon as they find out they gotta get their wallet out, then it's a no.
Okay, but you're providing a service and I'm pulling a camper and I need somewhere to sleep. So I don't have a choice. I have to pay a certain amount. Wherever I go, I'm gonna pay a certain amount, whether it's $30, $50, $100. You pay a certain amount to rent that space. We're giving the convenience to everyone, not just people in Michigan, people in wherever they're coming from. They're coming here to camp. I don't care if they don't want to pay for it at all. Now they're an inconvenience to the rest of the people that live in the community. Why are they an inconvenience? Well, they fall and break their leg. Oh, here comes the ambulance. So it's a service that you're providing. I don't understand why you don't want to.
But it's a service that's
increase the
provided to the
rates.
rest of the community.
Okay, but the whole
So-
community ain't staying in the spaces of the park.
Back to rec fund that Ron was talking about, and even fire fund, I've heard people say that, for instance, the cell tower revenue, the fire department's got a cell tower sitting on property there. And so, or the township does. And so I've had people suggest to me through the years, why don't we earmark the revenue from that cell tower to the fire fund?
Yeah,
I've had people-
That's been brought up for as
Right.
long as I've been here.
Right.
Not enough
And,
revenue, I don't think.
I'm just looking for revenue sources that,
the common answer I always got when I brought that up was, we put it in the general fund and we can transfer it over to those other funds. Well, that's not directly earmarking it. That's not saying it absolutely is gonna go here.
right.
But it's
Right,
not recommended by auditors to move it out of the general fund and put it in those direct.
Right.
funds.
I'm
Only
just,
because,
go ahead.
only because there may be a park that needs help on a specific year. And
Yeah.
again, the budgeting education that I'm receiving is looking at targeted areas. So this year, you may have to target one area to be a reduction in spending because there's an increase in a different area. For example, we know that we need to get 2 parks back open from storm damage. That's a $57,000 hit we didn't expect. So
67, I think we budgeted for.
I think it was $57,200.
That's what we're transferring, but our
It's gonna cost
budget line
57.
item for expenditure is 67 too.
Yeah, but just not for, okay.
That's storm damage cleanup. That's the budget line. item.
David, okay, so take the rest of the 10 and get the tree off the fence in the cemetery and the trees out of the cemetery.
But that's not
and you're good.
a,
Yeah, I know.
that's not,
I'm
it's
just
not a
saying.
recreation.
And no kidding.
We're in recreation, so
Right.
what does
Yeah.
a cemetery have to do with
I'm just-
recreation? I don't
Yeah.
I know
understand.
you can't cross fund, but people are gonna look at it, well, that's another, that should be under that too. So, okay.
The point in all the education is target your budgeting because funds, it's, and I shared my first time through one of these webinars, I shared with the board, it almost seems like they're preparing us for this gloom and doom. That's back when they were projecting at like a 55% cut to constitutional revenue
yeah.
sharing, right? So it was like a year ago that
Yeah,
I
it turned
first.
out to be nothing.
Correct, but they're still saying that, be prepared for
Well, pay
targeting
attention to what's
cuts.
going on in the global community. It's gonna come our way. Everything, as far as cost is concerned, it's coming our way.
So
Well,
you
you know
move
what,
your
even though
investments
they're-
because you think the stock market's gonna tank, and what's it do? Shoots up 250 points. Imagine.
Go to the grocery store.
Oh,
That's the
That,
truckers.
that's robbing you blind, a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
but that's. Maybe what
that's-
they're saying,
and,
Ron,
you
is
know,
that people are gonna start spending less. Because they have to spend it on food and just basic necessities.
How these people gonna pay off, to make all their payments if they're payment buyers and they forgot about, oops, gas tripling.
And I think the overall thing for, millages and stuff like that is that right now, when people look at their tax bill, of course, I think a lot of them really don't look at it, but some people do. And they see that, we've got our Whitewater Township allocated, and we have our fire special assessment district levy, and we have our ambulance millage levy. And
And the admin
I-
fee,
and then, what's that?
and the admin fee.
And the admin fee, right? And so do they really want to see another line item on the tax bill for townships? Do they really want to see, they've already said no some years ago to adding a, park millage.
But you know what?
Um,
They- I'm gonna-
Because, and just let me just finish that
Sure,
thought.
I'm sorry.
Especially since we've already talked about, this Headley override thing. Okay, so that affects one of the 3 lines that they see on their bill. And then we've talked about raising the fire special assessment district, which is already on the bill. So I just don't see where people are going to go for a park millage when, as you say, their wallet is also getting hit from these other places, food, gas, clothing, rent, that type of thing that is just your basic household expenses. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about.
And I will say this, if you're planning or you're discussing as a board, increasing a millage or adding a new millage item out there, you need to be strategic about it. You need to plan it. You need to educate the public of what you're talking about. And then you give it up to them to let them decide if that's what they want to do. Cheryl, when that park and rec millage got turned down, it's a lot of different people live here now,
Yeah, that's
different
true.
attitudes.
Yeah,
What they wanted to do with the money back then wouldn't necessarily be what we want to do with the money today. We want to do with the money today is maintain those parks. We don't want to build new things. And they wanted to do new things.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe the public's attitude might be different.
I guess where I was going with that is that you could account for spending some extra money in the recreation fund. For instance, if you had the Headley override, that would be a lot more money coming into the general fund, and you've still only got 3 lines on your tax bill that are related to Whitewater Township, because that could be where that money comes from.
Right.
Round numbers, a Headley override to a full 1 would generate us about another $200,000.
Mhm. It's quite a bit of money.
When you think of some of the programs we talked about here, it's still a thimble
It's memo.
in an ocean.
Well, it's $200,000 that the township doesn't have right now. And if that happened, and if there was a slight increase, you know, some justifiable increase, that here again, we are going to educate the public about, right? In the fire special assessment district. So I'm saying you're not gonna take the 200,000 and put it towards fire.
Right.
Okay,
Maybe it's a combination of things we have to do in order to achieve some of these goals we're talking about.
Something that I would like to get the boards, and we're 2 minutes away from noon.
yep,
So I would like to get an opinion from the board of why, when we take a look at our surrounding neighbors with a fire millage of 2.5, medical of about 2, why we feel we can get by with a total millage of about 2.5 when it should be at 4. Why do we think that can happen? Do we have some economy of scale that I'm not picking up on?
Well, when you're looking at the townships though, I mean, I'm looking at Chief's research that he did here. And these townships are bigger than us. They bring in a lot more revenue than we
Yeah.
do.
That's the
So
problem.
we need to do a comparison of townships of our size, see what they're actually doing. If you want to be
Well, we
know,
pulled
honest.
deputy comparisons from other townships that aren't our size.
Yeah, we didn't do that with earnings.
all you have to do is get the millage index from Bonnie Shealy's office, and you can see what everybody else is charging.
I appreciate this. And I realize when you compare us to these big townships, that we look like, well, you know, the market will bear us doing that, but I'm not sure that we can compare ourselves to East Bay Township or Garfield or Blair or even Acme, because they bring in a whole lot more revenue wise than we do. So let's look at, what is Fife Lake doing? What is?
They've closed. They're done.
I know. Okay, bad one then, sorry.
What
did they do?
you
What
use
did
it
they
for?
do?
What
They
did you
closed.
use it for?
Five Lake still has fire coverage. They just don't have their own department.
Right,
Okay, but we don't want to, okay. We're so-
but you know what I'm talking about, Heidi. You
I am.
compare apples to apples,
Apples to
not
apples,
a
so,
grapefruit to our orange.
exactly, so she needs some electricity in the park, but she only did the boat. She only did the boat fees, she wouldn't do the park fees, so. I feel like I'm in a box half open,
We
so.
raised the park fees. We raised a lot of fees this year.
So
By
think,
more than they've ever
So
raised.
I
been
agree with
raised
you,
before.
Ron, that we should be looking at what can we do about the millage? But we need to look at what is it our citizens can actually bear.
I'm totally on
And
board with that.
That's where the rubber hits the
Yeah.
road.
Merely my reason for bringing this up is let's not get the cart in front of the horse. And in this case, let's not get the fire engine in front of the staff.
I
Simply
hear you.
put. So when is our next budget work session? Is it next Monday, March 7th?
Yep,
Okay,
that's our last one before the budget public hearing.
so we've got wages we're miles apart on. And so I'm willing to break out and have some breakout meetings. in advance of the next work session, if that would be helpful to anyone.
Well, I've supplied information. I guess if you want to supply information that,
I'm
You
not
know,
going to
from-
supply any.
What do you mean by
information.
breakout session? I'm sorry.
If
Well,
we
you-
wanted to talk about the difference of what I'm willing to subject our voters to and what is being proposed.
Do you have a counter proposal?
Yeah, I said somewhere between 10 and 15%. That's what I'm interested in doing. Bob Hall has indicated that he's sitting at about 13.5%. But part of that is to make up for last year when we didn't, somehow we didn't negotiate a new contract.
well, all I know is we put a 20% increase in the budget for Bob Hall. That's what you asked for. And that's what
And-
we put in the budget.
And he has supplied something different to us now.
Okay.
So that's good.
Well,
Is something lower than the 20%?
Yeah, he said 13 to 15.
Okay.
Mhm. And that covers the 2 years.
So should we change that to a real number here today?
I don't have a real number calculated off of, and I want to make sure that we're using the 2020 agreement.
Then I think maybe what I would suggest we do, and I know this is not popular, but maybe we're gonna have to schedule another meeting this week.
Yeah, that's not going to happen for me. I'm already behind. Not another formal meeting, but like I said, I'm willing to meet outside of a board consensus to see if we can hammer something out.
So do you and Cheryl want to meet then? You guys can meet right out here and
I
talk
think
about
we
it.
have another budget work session coming up on March 7th, and I think we keep it all out in the open.
Okay.
In front of the public.
Any board comments or discussion? I don't see anyone out in Zoom land. So is there public comment here in the township hall? Hearing none, motion for adjournment,
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Sorry.
second. That's okay. Go ahead. I'll second.
motion made and seconded, further discussion. Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Thank you. Yes.
Goss, yes, Pop,
Yes,
Bauman.
Yes.
and we'll call it at 12:05.
You guys,
My husband's on it. My husband and I are.
Is he?
We gotta work on a new one. Kind of hard asking people for money. Especially when your trail permits are down 50%.